concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Livestream. Very good to be with you here on a Monday evening to talk about FPV. Ning. It is roasting down here in South Oz, but it is not roasting here in West Knoxville. Actually, today wasn't so bad. High of around 40 in Fahrenheit units. But we've been running the wood stove. We're gonna have a Arctic blast, and when I turned on the TV and they said we were gonna get an Arctic blast, and I said, "Oh boy, can I have Oreo in mine?" But apparently that's a weather system. It comes down. It's not a frosty treat, and it's gonna be a high of like 14 Fahrenheit and a low of like 9 on Friday. So yeesh. Woo! Woo! Jack! Jack! Jack is here! Bright until I fly. Jack is here. Jack, good to see you, man. I haven't seen you in forever. I haven't noticed you being here in forever. Ooh. Good to see you, man. What about that Walksnail VRX? Oh, I got that. It's over. I need to make a video about that. Eee. Jack, bright until I fly. You guys still podcasting? Jack? Oh, we're going to get another warm day, though. By warm, I mean like 50 Fahrenheit. This week, maybe I'll get out and do some flying. I don't know. What switches are my key sway on FPV? Let's answer the hard questions like what switches are my... Hang on a second. Wait a second. And... Okay, great. What switches are my keyboard? We're going to answer the hard questions. I'm glad to hear that, Jack. It's still going strong. Podcasting. Let's drone out. In case you don't know who Jack is, Jack is one of the hosts of the UK's best drone show, Let's Drone Out. I haven't checked in with you guys recently. You know, you get busy. I need to get you like guys up on like you on Spotify? The UK's best drone show. Let's drone out. Good to see you, Jack. Oh, here, hang on. Well, I was going to do the thing. So, here's the deal. If you're new here, first of all, hello, welcome. Glad to have you. And say hello. Also, here's what we do. We answer questions. I answer your questions. That's it. I figured out a lot of people try to podcast or whatever, and they try to make content like that's entertaining. They try to game. They try to be witty or funny. They try to be educational. And I figured out that everybody, and then every once in a while they'll do a Q&A. Everybody shows up for the Q&A. And I was like, I ain't got any of that. I'm not witty. I'm not funny. Certainly not. Well, I'm a little bit educational. I'll just make the Q&A be the whole live stream. And that's what we're going to do. So feel free to ask questions in the chat. I will be monitoring the chat. Feel free to ask questions in the Discord server. But patrons, Discords, there you go. These guys pay to be in this server. And, you know, also just so I can keep working. So, of course, they get half my screen. And if you want to hit the $ right down here and leave a super chat, I'll be reading those super chats. Just a minute. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Real quick, since it already popped up on screen, let's just get this super chat here from Kenny de Oliveira. Now, I know I usually try to... I put the super chats off for a little bit because I don't want people to think I'm just in it for the money. But since I forgot to turn off the auto pop-up, so now they're popping up on screen, so I'd feel bad if I didn't read them. My receiver is binding with my quad, but it's not working. No input at all. I have the correct UART on. Kenyo de Oliveira. So Kenyo, when the receiver is not you don't have movement in the receiver tab of Betaflight, there are like several things you need to check. And if you email me, we'll go through them. I'll go through them with you over email. I'll say, send me a picture of your wiring, send me a picture of your port stub. I'll look at them, and then hopefully we'll figure out what's wrong. But here on a live stream, I think the best I can do is maybe list them off for you. So the first thing is you have to have the receiver wired correctly. What kind of receiver is it, Kenyo? What kind of receiver is it? Kenyo in the comments says he might have soldered TX to TX and RX to RX. That would be a problem. TX goes to RX and RX goes to TX almost always. So is that it? It's an Express LRS receiver. Okay, so yeah. TX to RX and RX to TX. That's one of the things you could get wrong. Then in the ports tab, you have to have the correct UART enabled with serial RX. And then you have to have the correct protocol set. Oh, don't do that. Freelojo, don't do that. Don't do that to me, bro. Freelojo posted this picture in the Discord. I've seen this before. And when I first saw this picture, I was sure that it was one of those AI generated images that looks like a face but isn't. I argued with my wife over this. I think it was her. I don't know. It might have been her. Somebody. I argued about this. It is not. It is an actual image of a dog. The dog's head is cocked to the left or to the right. If you turn your head 90 degrees to the left, you'll see it. I swear it took me forever. I stared at it so long thinking it was not a real animal, but one AI generated face that looks, but then not a real face. Yeah. Don't do that to me. Let's get one more super chat here real quick from CB Runner. Thank you, CB Runner, for a $2 super chat. Back in Florida from Hawaii, it's 40 Fahrenheit. Yeah, Hawaii was probably pretty freaking warm. I've been to Maui once. It's just a doggo. Yeah. It's weird, huh? The burning question that I know you all want to know the answer to. What keys are on my keyboard? What switches are on my keyboard? They are browns. They are, this is a Ducky 1. The keyboard is a Ducky 1S. Yeah, Ducky 1, 1S. And the switches are browns. And I know browns are the loserest, plebist mechanical key switch. I know they're the lamest key switch. Do you think I don't know that? Do you know, and I'm not making this up, I ordered a key little tester. They're useless, first of all. Those little testers that you get with like one key with each switch, that doesn't tell you anything about what it's going to be like to use the keyboard. I picked, I don't even remember what I picked first. I tried reds, terrible for typing. Need that tactile click. I tried like some obscure, I think it was a silver. I tried 3 or 4 different sets of key switches. And each time I bought the keyboard, typed on it for a week, didn't like it, sent it back. And repeated. Blues are the best. Everyone knows that. I had a keyboard with blues for a while, and when you're on a live stream or a web call, people on the live streams are complaining about the blues. They're so freaking loud. So I ended up settling on browns, and they're fine. I'm ashamed to say that they're fine. I am not a special snowflake. If you live by yourself and you never interact with other humans, so basically if you're a programmer, then blues are great. Okay. Every so often we have to go through that story. Let's see here. Have I tried Betaflight 4.4 yet? Asks CMAC. I have not. I usually don't rush to try new versions of Betaflight unless it's got a killer. Like, I downloaded the nightly of Betaflight 4.3 because it had Ghost support and I was running Ghost receivers. I usually don't rush to download the nightlies. I got a lot of shit to do. When it gets closer to release, I'll try it. It's got some exciting stuff in it. The online compiling is very, very exciting in Betaflight 4.4. If you're not familiar with that, basically what you can do is there's an online utility where you can select which parts of Betaflight you want to leave in and which parts you want to leave out. Why would you want to do that? Well, especially as Betaflight gets more and more complicated, it gets harder and harder to fit Betaflight into the memory that's available on our flight controllers. And there's a concern that Betaflight will outgrow the memory of the flight controller. So the ability to compile with just the features you need will extend the life of the flight controllers that we're currently using. Basically F4s, maybe even bring back F3s, I don't know. Joey Whitaker wants to know. How to test the UFL on the receiver after resoldering it. Oof. I mean, Joey, the actual tools you would need to do that would be expensive RF tools. What I would probably do is just look at the RSSI in your telemetry of your radio and see if it's like a reasonable value. For example, I was just looking at this page today. Express LRS has a set of pre-flight checks they recommend you do, and one of them is this test about a bench test about RSSI. So, I got to zoom out. Sorry. So basically, you set your quadcopter down about, what do they say, 1 meter? Yeah, set your quadcopter down about 1 meter away from your radio. Set your module to 10 milliwatts, and then look at your RSSI dBm, or 1 RSS if you're looking at telemetry. And for a 2.4 gigahertz receiver, you want to see about minus 40 to minus 30 dBm, and that indicates your antenna is sort of basically working correctly. I mean, that's a good test. And that's a good test for Express LRS. You can perform this exact same test with any receiver that will report RSSI dBm. Now, the baseline value of minus 30 to minus 40 dBm may not be correct, so you may want to test it with a known good receiver and get a baseline value, but that's a good test you could do to figure out if that solder job was successful. Betaflight 4.4 also has improved return to home. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting. Good. See how much better that works. Sean Kelly wants to know, JB, how can I get some help? I'm stuck trying to get my drone out of pit mode. The number one way that people's drone gets stuck in pit mode is if the VTX... I feel like we answered this question yesterday. The number one way people get their VTX stuck in pit mode is here in the video transmitter tab. You end up with your value. Your values are incorrect for what the VTX expects to see. And when that happens, it locks itself in pit mode, or 25 milliwatts if it doesn't support pit mode. So most likely you've loaded the wrong VTX table, would be my guess. Wesley Vardy. I got a question for you. Wesley Vardy's in the chat. I know Wesley Vardy knows a thing or two about Express LRS. This is a question Lord Henricks asks, and I want to pull Wesley in. He says, why does my Express LRS say telemetry lost, but I'm still in full control? Now, I'm going to give a partial answer, and Wesley, hopefully you'll chime in when I just start talking bullshit. The reason that you can have telemetry lost but still have control is that the control link in Express LRS, Crossfire, Ghost, and Tracer is bidirectional. So the control link goes from the controller to the receiver. The telemetry link comes back the other way. The telemetry link is actually much, much weaker and has a much shorter range than the control link, because the telemetry link is typically at like 100 milliwatts, maybe less, whatever the receiver can support. And the control link is at a high number. So it is completely normal that you might lose telemetry but still have control, especially if you're flying at long range. In fact, if you think about it, if your controller is at 1 watt and your telemetry is at 100 milliwatts, then if you just flew as far away from yourself as you could, there would come a point where the telemetry link no longer could get back, but the control link was fine. Now, here's where I'm hoping that Wesley Vardy will offer some advice. Sometimes, when I'm flying Express LRS, I just get telemetry lost, telemetry lost, telemetry lost. And I feel like I've done the things I'm supposed to do to prevent that from happening. Like, set the telemetry ratio to standard so that I know that the telemetry ratio is high enough. And it's not exclusive to Express LRS. Crossfire, I've had the same problems with Crossfire sometimes. It's not like only Express LRS does this. Anyone can do this. I don't think I've ever had that happen with Ghost, but I don't fly Ghost as often. So, Wesley Vardy says Edge TX had some fixes for this. Edge TX had some fixes for this. Telemetry is being dropped randomly between the module and the handset. Upgrade to the latest Edge TX. It should fix any short range losses you're seeing. Oh, fantastic! Damn! I owe Wesley Vardy a super chat. Thank you, Wesley. It's not baud rate. It wasn't. I know the baud rate was high enough. Grom Drone FPV says Tango 2 won't turn on or power up. Any tips? I probably... Will it charge the battery? If you plug in USB, does it indicate that the battery's charging? So, if the battery is not dead, my first thought is that the battery's dead or the battery's come disconnected. The answer to that is to open up the radio and check the battery, unplug, replug the battery, just generally give it an inspection. Grom Drone FPV says the battery is fully charged. If the battery's fully charged, the next thing I would probably do is go to TBS Agent Web and use that to try to flash the firmware on the radio and see if it could come back to life. Bobby Bag says Fly High FPV has a video on how to reboot the Tango 2. Is the Tango 2 like got some kind of a lockout that can happen? Let's look. Let's look on Fly High's YouTube page. Oh my God. Will Ken Heron drink a 500 milligram dose of Dad's Elixir? That seems like... I'm not a expert on all things cannabis, but it feels like 500 is a big dose. Is it 500 a big dose? Let's see if we can search for Reboot. Agent X is dead. Well, yeah. So he's got a tutorial about how to unbrick the Tango 2 in bootloader mode. I also have a video about that. I'm not sure if that's exactly what's being described here, but that's what I would say. Let's throw Fly High FPV the link. Head over there and see if you can if that helps you get it back to life. 500 milligrams is absurd for most people. That's what I thought. People are asking what I'm drinking. This is, what is it? The pomegranate Mio Squirt. That's all. Pomegranate Mio Squirt. Let me read a couple more super chats that have come in. Black Jungle. says, the quad arrived. I traded Black Jungle quadcopters. He sent me one he made. I sent him a quad. He said the quad got here and looks beautiful. Thank you. Before I start poking around, do you know if it's TBS or Express LRS? Black Jungle, I don't remember. I mean, if you send me a picture of the receiver, I'll tell you which one it is. I don't remember. Quad City Baria asks, why can't HD0 have friendly video max than rainbow screen? I think what you're asking is, why doesn't HD0 have a more visually appealing breakup? And the answer, I don't know the answer. I mean, that's what they made it do. So I'm sure they could make it do something different, but they didn't. CMAC asks, what version of Edge TX has the telemetry fix? I'm assuming that it's 2.8 CMAC. I had the problem on 2.7. And 2.8 is the latest. Hello, why are you not auto-scrolling? Let's talk about the Walksnail 1S VRX. Ooh. Let's see here. Now, how prepared am I? How prepared am I? Let's find out how prepared Bardwell is. I actually prepared this camera for the stream yesterday. Oh, look at that. So prepared. So prepared. So prepared. Yes. Like a professional effing streamer. Walksnail 1S VRX. I believe that's what's in this box. If that's not what's in this box, then I may be about to embarrass myself. Nope, that's what it is. Not that... yeah, no, I thought so. Yes! Oh, if you could have seen that shot. Oh, crap. I still need the... Okay. I keep saying VRX. Meant VTX, the 1S of VTX. So here are the Walksnail Avatar Mini 1S kit and the Light kit. And I'm really happy that I have two of them side by side to share with you, because we can just directly see the difference between them. Ah! Dropped it. So, there's the light. This black keyboard mat isn't going to be a great background, but we will make do. And here's the standard. And there's a couple differences between them. So as far as the performance and the capabilities go, they are identical. I wish I could zoom that in just a little bit more. Oh, well. As far as the performance and the capabilities go, they are identical. They just managed to shrink it down just a smidge. Same mounting. Identical mounting. They just shrunk it down a smidge. And reduce the weight? How much did they reduce the weight? Let's see here. Okay, so here is the small boy with antenna. 9.7 grams, or without the antenna, 9.1 grams. The big boy, bigger boy, with antenna. Dang it. Bigger boy with antenna. 12.3 grams, or if we just do the VTXs, 10.3 versus 9.5, 9.6. So we saved 10.3 to... Is that less than a gram? Is that less than a gram? That appears to be less than a gram. I guess when they're... I've heard people quoting like 1.5 grams. They must be counting the antenna. But I mean, theoretically, you could put a whip antenna on the standard one. So I'm not sure you should count that. The camera is different on the smaller one, as you can see. The camera is smaller, significantly smaller. And the other thing that surprised me is that this plug, the USB plug between them, is not the same size. So you're going to need to keep 2 copies of this plug. But yeah, there you go. Now, if you are thinking, well, when is Bardwell going to put out a review of this or something along those lines? Guess what? I kind of already did. Because this micro, the light VTX, is what was in the Flywoo Nano Baby that I reviewed. They sent me it before release because they just, I don't know, they wanted it. That's what they wanted me to test. And so you can see the performance of it in that video. But there you go. I'll put that stuff away later. It brings the weight down, getting in the range of, what's the Whoop Nano VTX bundle? The Whoop Light, there we go, the Whoop Light, that's the right name for it. Black Jungle says they claim it's the same camera, just doesn't have the plating. I have to take their word for that. But it certainly looked like the same camera when I flew it. The Whoop Light bundle, 4.5 grams for the VTX, 1.5 grams for the camera, and then also the antenna. So 4.5, 5.5, 6 grams without the antenna. And this one was 9 grams. So this is roughly 3 grams more, if my math is correct, than the HD0 Whoop Light, which is not nothing. On a 25-ish gram, maybe 30 gram quadcopter, that is a noticeable amount of weight, but it's getting down there. Can you take the MIPI cable off of the new VTX? I don't see why not. I mean, I'm not going to do it. I mean, it's glued on, but sure, it looks like it's a standard MIPI connector. You could peel it off. I don't see why not. Is the MIPI connector the same? Are the cameras interchangeable? Well, I don't want... I don't want to mess up my frickin'... I'm going to go with yes. I'm going to go with yes. And I'm not going to pull the adhesive off and kind of mess it up or something. Because I don't know. I think the answer is yes. Yeah, Del Squacho says it's less than 1 gram of net gain. I think they're being a little bit, what's the word? Sneaky with the numbers. Because I've heard people, I don't know if this is an official statement from Cadex or just somebody talking shit on the internet. I've heard people saying that the light is like 3 grams lighter or something. And I think they're counting the antenna. But you could just put a little dipole whip antenna or whatever. You could put a dipole antenna on the standard one and save the same two-ish grams. So the actual weight difference of the VTX and the camera is about, looks like it's less than 1 gram. Still, a little smaller. A little smaller. A little bit of weight saving, not going to say no. I gotta put this. Oh. Thank you, Black Jungle, for continuing to post hilarious memes. Over in the Discord. Appreciate that. Wesley Vardy asks, won't you have some loss going from the linear antenna with the dipole to the circular polarized antenna that most people use on the Walksnail goggles? By the way, Wesley Vardy, side note, I always go out of my way to spell out the words circular polarized and don't abbreviate them. That's all I'm going to say about that. You are correct. You'll lose about 3 dB. Roughly 3 dB. If you have a linear antenna combined with a circular antenna. Now, again, whether that's worth that 2 grams of weight to you is, that's a toss-up. Please. At 350 milliwatts output, that 3 dB could be a factor. That's true. A 3 dB loss is about 1.4x the distance, if my memory is correct. I'm pretty sure that it is. One thing to keep in mind, in my opinion, a lot of the antennas that we're using don't seem to care as much as it seems like they ought to about the polarization of the incoming signal. So I don't know if we would actually measure a 1.4x loss in range for the linear antenna compared to the circular ones. But at the end of the day, if you want a circular antenna, you could have an extra gram or 2 and you can have one. My theory, here's the thing, Wesley. I don't know how to explain this, but you see these antennas and they say, oh, 1.0 axial ratio, perfect axial ratio, left-hand polarized. And yet you go and you put a linear antenna on, and I don't know, you have a cross-polarized antenna, and sometimes it seems like it doesn't really matter. And you're like, well, does it matter? What's going on here? Don't know. So, I think real world conditions may not live up to theoretical results. Let's read a couple more super chats. Got a super chat here from Kentucky Savage. Kentucky Savage says, I used butter that you recommended to repair my Vista. It's good as new now. Oh, man. I appreciate the $10 super chat. you should 1000% also donate to the FPV WTF team who created the tool. Okay? But I'm glad it helped. Kestrel FPV asks, KY Savage, where are you from, friend? I'm going to guess, like, if it's not Kentucky, then I've been saying the name wrong the whole time. KY is the abbreviation for Kentucky. Maybe it's something else. Squirrely asks, Squirrely says, was there a reason not to update the V2 goggles? Squirrely, the reason that you, the reason that you might not update the V2 goggles would be that you wanted to root them. And if you update them, then you can't root them. However, thanks to the boffins over at FPV WTF, there is a new tool called Butter, FPV WTF Butter, which lets you roll back the firmware or unbrick them. I've got a video about this coming out probably tomorrow. No, sorry. It'll be Wednesday. Because today's video, the iFlight Chimera 7 Pro review, did not get uploaded in time to release it before this live stream, so it will come out tomorrow, and then the Butter video will come out the day after that. So, yeah. Delta Foxtrot. Delta Foxtrot, thank you so much for a $5 super chat. My amp and milliamp hour reading is way off. What could cause that issue? Delta Foxtrot, the number one reason that that would happen would be that your current sensor is not calibrated correctly. So if you go into the Power and Battery tab, and right here, do I not have a current meter? I do. Right here, the amperage meter, there's a scale and an offset. And depending on your flight controller, you may be able to look those values up, or you're maybe pulling those values from your ESC, actually. So, like, let's pick an ESC. Like the iFlight Blitz Mini that I just put in my quad. Now, if you're using the iFlight Blitz Mini with an iFlight flight controller, probably it has the correct values and your current meter reading would be correct. But if you're mixing and matching your flight controller and your ESC, then the current scale values may be wrong. Let's see if they list the current. Yeah, so right here, it's a little hard to see because it's small on the screen. Current rate 200. I believe that what that is trying to tell you is that if you're using this ESC, set the current scale to 200, and I assume leave the offset at 0. Okay, so what ESC do you have, Delta Foxtrot? You're using the SpeedyBee flight controller with a Luminaire ESC. Yep, that's 100% what the problem is, but we can fix it. What Luminaire ESC are you using? What ESC? Is it the Luminaire Elite 60 amp? That's a T-motor, isn't it? Is that a T-motor? That looks like a T-motor ESC. Let's see if they publish the value. Nope. So this is a real freaking pain in the ass, to be honest with you. Because some ESCs don't publish the calibration values as prominently as they really ought to. It's the Lux F7 Mini, okay. Fingers crossed. Oh, that's the flight controller, though. What about the ESC? What ESC are you using? Is there a 20 millimeter Lux ESC? Micro Lux flight controller, Lux mini flight controller. They have to have an ESC. It's the Razer LED 55 amp bundle. Is it the Razer? Lux F7 Mini Stack 6S Pro ESC. All right, I don't know if we're going to solve this one right now, but this is what you got to do. We've got to just look at the product page and look for the calibration value. And if they don't tell you the calibration value, then it's super effing annoying. It's super effing annoying when they don't tell you the calibration value. And they're not going to. So, come on. Let this be the one. No, they're all the same. Oh, this ESC has a user manual. The others, oh, page not found. Oh, killing me. All right, so at this point, yeah, I don't see it. Okay, so at this point, you have no choice but to reach out, chat with a certified expert. Hi, please tell us what you need. You're not a real human. Please, I need the correct calibration scale for the Lumineer Micro Razor 4-in-1 20 by 20 Beal Heli 32 ESC. Well, let's see how well this goes. Oh, you guys can't see what I'm typing. Sure, I will connect you with an independent product expert. Okay, let's see how this goes. This is going to go real well. I'll take another question while we wait for this person to answer. Hello, I am an independent GetFPV community member and definitely not a pre-canned response. As an avid customer by myself, I was certified by GetFPV to share my product expertise with you. A human being definitely typed this line. Sorry, I'm not sure what that is. Okay, let me ask you this. How did an AI chatbot buy products from GetFPV? Okay, this is going to be interesting. Okay, oh, are you a human? If you're a human, tell me what pizza tastes like. I don't think an AI could do that. This person is getting 3% off every purchase at GetFPV for this. Okay, well, let's thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. Okay, cool. Well, it was worth a shot. All right. No, he doesn't know. He doesn't know. He has no idea. Someone's like calling him right now. Oh. Alrighty. Okay, that's gonna do it. Okay, I'm out. That's enough of this. So that's what you gotta do. You gotta email GetFPV support. They have to go back to their manufacturer and they have to ask the manufacturer what the correct value is. Or you can just wing it. So here's how you just wing it. Take a fully charged battery, fly it down to 3.7 volts. Okay? Put it on the charger. Charge it back up to full charge. See how many milliamp hours the charger says it put into the battery. At the end of the flight, write down the number of milliamp hours that the OSD says you pulled out of the battery, and then take those two as a ratio and adjust the scale to cause the number to go up and down. I have a video about how to do that. It's called The Safest Way to Calibrate Your Current Sensor, Joshua Bardwell. Yeah, so this is the video you want that explains how to go through that process.
I'm Joshua Bardwell.
How are you?
Learned something today.
Oh, thanks, Joshua. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this guy. Okay. Delta Foxtrot definitely got his money's worth out of that. Absolutely. It's a good question. Daniel Bailey, thank you for a $10 super chat. You were talking about telemetry loss with Edge TX and Express LRS. Every time I connect a new battery, I have to reset the flight and telemetry many times, or my TX16S just says battery critical and vibrates. How do I stop that? Daniel Bailey, if your telemetry is not updating, is my guess. So go to the telemetry screen on your radio. Well, first thing I would say to do is go to the Express LRS Lua script and set the telemetry ratio to standard, STD. Get that done right. Assuming you're using Express LRS 3.0, that will ensure that the telemetry ratio is sufficient to get the telemetry packets through. If your telemetry ratio is too low, then the telemetry sensors won't update, and that could potentially explain this problem, although I would think that it would update enough to stop it eventually. So I would want to be looking at the telemetry screen and making sure that the telemetry sensors were updating. And if not, in Express LRS, that telemetry ratio is how to do it. Eric Toft says you could use a clamp meter to measure the current. Eric, the problem with a clamp meter is that you have to hold the quadcopter down and spin the props to pull power through the flight controller. Or through the ESC, and that's dangerous and terrifying. I have done it. It's dangerous and terrifying. This is why I don't leave this camera like this all the time. Wesley Vardy, if you just want to stop it buzzing at you, you can tick the Disable Telemetry Alarms checkbox on the Telemetry tab in the model. Harry Cash asks, Harry Cash says, if you live next to a mountain and you fly your quad up the side of the mountain, then go over the top of the mountain, does that count as 400 feet above the earth? Harry, I think you're talking about the guideline in the United States that you should not fly over 400 feet. That guideline is 400 feet AGL. I'm pretty sure. That's above ground level. So as long as you are within 400 feet of the ground, you should be okay. If you fly up the mountain, you might be 5,000 feet above your takeoff location, but you're still 400 feet above ground level. Yes, the chat is backing me up on that. I'm always a little hesitant if I'm not like 100% sure. Because sometimes on live streams, I just talk out my ass and say things that are wrong. And I try not to do that, but sometimes I do. Not this time, though. What's your opinion of the SpeedyBee V2 frame? Asks. What's your... Oh, my God. Well, now I kind of... I didn't realize that... Okay. Let's answer the question. What's your opinion on the SpeedyBee V2 frame? Let's have a look at it. Oh yeah, I've seen this is I thought maybe the V2 had been updated. It's a fine frame. It doesn't like jump out to me as a particularly notable. I mean, somebody just sat down and decided to make a frame. I like the metal front end. I think the metal front end is going to be pretty strong. I like the way that they back that front end up with these standoffs. That's going to keep that front end boxed in and strong in a frontal impact. I'm not thrilled at the fact that you can't move the camera forward and back. It looks like they've built this with just one camera hole. And it means that your camera is going to stick out further than it needs to stick out in a lot of cases and be at some risk of being damaged. Although the way that the front end sort of tucks in here is going to help with that. Still, I like the flexibility to move my camera up, down, left, right a little bit. Hooks on the end of the arms, these little spikes on the end of the arms, good for protecting the motor. Some people feel very strongly about those. Other people not as strongly. It doesn't cost much to have them there. The carbon is beveled from the factory. That's a very nice touch. I don't think it actually, has any effect on performance, but it does make it look nice and premium. This is a render, isn't it? This may not be actual picture of a product. On the underside, the arms go in with 2 screws. No, is that a stack screw? How do the arms fit in? Does the stack screw go through the arm? Show me an arm. Okay, they're using that. That's like diatone. That's the first time I remember seeing this general style of arm design. So you've got, you do have, that's a damn shame. That's a lot of screws through the arm. So you're going to be pulling out 2 screws to replace the arm. That's not the end of the world. It is a little bit annoying. The stack screw goes through here. That's fine. The hole is in the center, the dead center of the arm. That's good. That's going to add some strength. A lot of frames have moved to thinner, more square cross-section arms as being better for vibration. Eirik Toft thinks that the hole at the end is going to break easy. You mean the slit, Eirik? At least on my diatones, that wasn't usually the failure mode. But plausible. Fancy standoffs here that will be challenging to replace if they're damaged in any way. Antenna tubes that will just break and you know, look good in pictures and be useless in real life. No, like offense that they're including them, but I'm not a fan of mounting the antennas that way, personally. XT60 holder. Yeah. It's an okay frame. If it appeals to you, go for it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I also probably wouldn't be like my first pick. June Loco thinks the Tank is the best bando frame. That's the new frame by Let's Fly RC. The Tank continues Rotor Riot's tradition of designing frames kind of like the Skyliner, but with a little modification. And the goal here with the Tank is to have just an absolute tough as nails basher. So we got a big honkin' thick metal front end. And the arms, what are they, like 7mm arms? 2mm body plates. 1.5mm is more common. And so this is going to be thicker. 8mm arms. You're not going to break these arms. Probably. See, this frame, like, you look at the Speedy Bee and you're like, okay, I mean, it's fine. But what makes this frame stand out? Probably the metal front end. That's like semi-unique. The rest of the frame is pretty much, I mean, it's cosmetically different. But in many ways, it's a copy of stuff we've seen before. There aren't a lot of like novel ideas here, to me. Not that I see. This is gonna break. Is it gonna break? Will the metal protect that? That carbon's mighty thin around that screw. I might not like that. But you look at the Tank, and like, okay, 8mm arms. Hey, who else has 8mm arms? F you. Right? At least it's got something. I don't know. Maybe you want it, maybe you don't. Now, the weight of the frame is 175 grams. So it better be tough. It's like somebody looked at Bachgrinder's frame and was like, 165 grams, I can do better. So that would be a deal breaker for me. That the frame alone is 175 grams, that's just a deal breaker for me. I don't want to fly that. I've flown 800, 850 gram quads. I mean, let's say you make an argument. Let's say you go, well, I'm going to have 175 gram, but I'm going to run the DJI O3 air unit, so I don't have a GoPro. And that saves me 100 grams. Oh, okay. Yeah, plausible. Maybe. But 175 gram frame is a heavy effing frame. Entertaining Obsidian asks, how do you know what D-shot setting to use and what PID loop frequency to use? Are they related? That is correct. They are related. Here in Betaflight, you can go to the Configuration tab and look at your PID loop frequency. Generally, you should just use the highest PID loop frequency that's available to you. With F4 flight controllers, you may not be able to use 8K if you enable all the features of Betaflight, specifically RPM filtering, which you totally want. So if I take this up to 8K and save and reboot, I think this is an F7, not an F4. Actually, I'm not sure. We can look at the CPU load is 27%. And if we go to the CLI and type tasks, what we want to look at is we want to look at the gyro task. And notice that the gyro task is set to 8K, but it's only 7981. The filter task is, I suppose, supposed to be at 4K. And it's 3989. And the PID task is 3989. Wait, something isn't right here. Did I? Why are those not at 8K? Oh, because the change didn't take. Hello? Hello? Save and reboot. Let's try again. Did it work this time? No, it refuses to go to 8K. That's interesting. I wonder why it's doing that. It's an F7. Why is it refusing to go to 8K? Betaflight, what are you doing? What if I disable bidirectional D-Shot and go to D-Shot 600? This is confusing me. Will it not do 8K on D-Shot 300? Will it just refuse? That's fascinating. Let's see if it takes now. What the heck? Betaflight! When did you do that? I didn't know it did this. So if I go to motors and I go to D-Shot 300. Yeah, but... Oh, of course. D-Shot 300 is too slow. Of course. Of course. Yeah. So let's set D-Shot 600. So if you want to run 8K on your PID loop, then you can run up... Then you have to run D-Shot 600. Because the others are too slow. And so they are related. I just didn't know that Betaflight would actually enforce that. I seem to recall that in the past, if you had an 8K PID loop with D-Shot 300, they would just skip the motor output every other PID loop, which was kind of stupid and pointless, but that's what... I vaguely recall that's what they used to do. I might be wrong about that. So now, let's go to CLI and type tasks. And what we want to see... Oh, that's not good. Look. Gyro 7812. It's not 8K. 7812, 7812. All of these are pretty far off of 8K. That's weird. And we haven't even enabled bidirectional D-Shot. If we enable bidirectional D-Shot, what happens? What's going on? That's this flight controller should be able to do this. 7758. It's way off. 7974, 7974, 7981. I mean, it's kind of in the ballpark of 8K, but that's pretty far off. I don't like that. So what we want to see is, here in the tasks output, we want to see that the gyro filter and PID are running pretty close to the nominal rate. CPU percent 52% should be fine. That's pretty weird. What if, I mean, I'm used to seeing it closer than that when I FPV. 7981 is I'm surprised that it's that far off. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's okay. What do you think, chat? Is that okay? Is that okay, or is that too far off? What if we go down to what if you go down to 4K? Obsidian, I'm getting there. Wow. The hell? There we go. 3989. Okay. Maybe 10 or 20 is acceptable. Brandon Bean says, I'm told the thing to look for is the late column in the tasks output. Oh, I can't highlight just the column. If that late column is non-zero, that's an indicator that tasks are getting delayed. That makes sense. That's interesting. Oh, here we go. Late 21. Well, I guess we might have a little. Okay, so to get back to the question, what we're going to do is we're going to go to configuration, and we're going to set that number to the highest number that it will give us. Okay. We're going to go to the motors tab, and we're going to set the D-shot to D-shot 600, if it lets us. Okay. And then we're going to set up the quadcopter, especially if you enable bidirectional D-shot. We're going to set it up, and we're going to go to the CLI, and we're going to look at the tasks command. And what we're going to look for is, we're going to look for the gyro, the filter, and the PID to be close to, let's say, within 10 or 20 of their nominal value. So 7981. I'm surprised that it's not closer to 8,000. It must be just running slow. I don't know why, but. And we're going to run tasks a couple times. And if we see that the tasks are running within, say, 10 or 20 of the nominal rate of 8K, 4K, whatever you set it to, then all is well. We're also going to look, according to Brandon Beans, we're going to look at the late column. And if we consistently see like a lot of late filter or PID specifically, but late anything, if we see a lot of late consistently, that's an indicator that we need to slow down that PID rate. So in this case, everything is fine. We don't have any lates. Occasionally we get like a few, but not a lot. And we're mostly running close to our nominal gyro filter and PID rate. Okay? So that's how you set the PID loop frequency. You set it as high as possible, you check those things, and then you see if you need to turn it down. Now, if your PID loop frequency is 8K, then you want to run D-shot 600. If your PID loop frequency is 4K or 3.6K or 3.2K, if you have is it 3.6 or 3.2 with the BMI gyro, then you're going to run D-shot 300. And that's the gist of it. Yeah, that's the gist of it. Mupshot, when is the Walksnail VRX going to ship? My understanding is that the first batch of them shipped on the 15th. And if you were in that batch, then whenever your postal service gets it to you, you'll get it. However, they did not ship the entire 4,000 or so orders. They have to. There'll be a delay while they produce them. Al Mac FPV, thank you for a $2 super chat. How do I find the gimbal polling rate of my, how do I find the polling rate of my gimbals? I don't know how you answer that question, Al Mac, without being like, is there something in EdgeTX that'll show you the polling rate? I'm not sure how to answer that. High Skies Media, thank you for a $2 super chat. I'm a noob coming from the Avada. Welcome! Welcome, my friend. Welcome to the world of FPV. We're all mad here. I got the Cinnabot 3.0 with the O3 air unit and the Radiomaster Zorro, and I'm planning to install Crossfire. Can you point me in the right direction for setup after I install Crossfire? You know, interestingly, High Skies Media, I have a Crossfire setup video, but I think it really needs to be updated. because it's a little out of date, and a few things have changed. Nothing like major. I think where I would point you, golly, yeah, I think I probably need to do an updated Crossfire tutorial. I'm hesitant to. Excuse me. I'm hesitant to point you to mine because it's a little out of date and it's going to show you things that have changed, and I don't know if I want to point you that direction. Where's a good Crossfire setup tutorial, chat, that's up to date? Sebi D says, I know nothing about producing VRXs. Didn't they get a month to start up the production? Yeah, Sebi D, the thing is, and I don't know the details of why their production is late, but let's say they might simply not have been able to procure enough chips to make the VRXs. Like especially in this day and age, you can't just wave a magic wand and say, I need 10,000 of this chip, right? You may simply not be able to get it. So I'm sure they made as many as they possibly could. Who's got a good Crossfire tutorial, folks? I'm officially calling it. Like, this is my video, but I have to tell you, it's from January 2021. The problem is I'm not using the Agent Light. I'm not using Agent Light in this video. And I'm using Agent X. I'm not using the right Lewis script. And I'm using Agent X. What is the... Really? Is that... Am I... This video is okay, but look, I'm using the old Crossfire setup Lewis script. And I guess it just Agent Light hadn't come out yet. So... Flyhive PV? You got a tutorial? Oh, whoops, wrong screen. What do you got, Flyhive PV? Let's just search your channel for Crossfire. Like just a generic setup guide? No, now we're back to 2 years ago. I think, does Mike Bergman have one? I don't know. We've got TBS Agent X is replaced by Agent Desktop. I mean, do you have a tutorial that where, soup to nuts? What about Oscar Leung? How to set up TBS Crossfire. Oh, Oscar's going to have our backs. Does he use the right Lewis script? What's the date on this? Updating OpenTX, TBS Crossfire firmware. So... he's using Agent M. That is correct. RX and FC connection. Binding Crossfire receiver. Does he... oh, well, he's not using the... no, he's still using the old... he's got the up-to-date Lewis script. Does he show how to download? I think this is probably the best one right now. We're going to go with this one for now. Flyhigh says the first one on my YouTube shows how to update bind setup. Let's have a look there. Oh. What's the title of the video, Flyhigh? That's it at the top. Okay. Tango 2 won't bind. How to update Crossfire firmware. This is a firmware update. Okay, we'll throw that one in there too. That'll get you started. Tango 2 won't bind head. Okay, that'll get you started anyway. Black Jungle, throwing out the dank memes. Okay. Let's see. Alan Lay, thank you for a $5 super chat. Interesting. Having some issues getting GPS OSD information on my O3 air unit system. I have a single and average voltage show up, but no GPS for some reason. Canvas of mode is enabled. Just a small correction, because I am part of why people incorrectly call it canvas mode, including DJI, and I am probably a big part of that, because I called it canvas mode incorrectly for a while. There's a function called canvas mode and a function called MSP DisplayPort, and they are not the same. What DJI calls canvas mode is actually properly called MSP DisplayPort, and is now my curse to go throughout the rest of my life trying to correct that mistake. And having fulfilled that obligation, I will now answer your question. Clearly, your OSD is working because you have single battery voltage and so forth. I was talking to somebody recently saying that the GPS OSD elements were not showing up. And specifically that they weren't showing up. And I thought, do they show up before you have GPS lock? And they do, because I have a quad with GPS on it, and I remember seeing them before I have GPS lock. My guess is that your GPS itself is not working. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to... let me do this. Hang on. The quad is right effing here. So let me plug it in. Oh no, that's not the flight controller. Let's plug in an actual quadcopter. And what we want to see is at the top of the screen, we want to see the GPS icon is yellow. So that's my first question, Alan. Alan EA? Maybe it's EA, not Lay. Is it EA? Wow, I can't remember why I can't find your message, Alan. So we want to see that GPS is yellow, indicating that the GPS is talking to the flight controller. Okay? That doesn't tell you anything about whether you have GPS lock, just that the GPS and the flight controller are talking. Bear in mind that on some flight controllers, you will need to have the battery plugged in to power up the GPS. Ideally, you would wire the GPS to 3.3 volts or to a 5-volt pad that powers up from USB, so you could power the GPS up from USB. Don't they show up as zeros even if you don't have a GPS? Fly high. Are we saying that the G2 goggles specifically don't show the OSD information? So then we're going to go to the OSD tab, and we should be able to pick the items. Or we could go to the GPS tab. Where's the GPS tab? Where's the GPS tab? Hello? Something isn't right with my... This isn't right. Oh, there... What the dickens? There we go. We go to the GPS tab. Oh, I was in the virtual one, wasn't I? Yes, okay. So now my GPS is off. And we go to the GPS tab and we can look and see if the GPS is working and if we're getting lock. Yeah, Wesley, I was not connected to the flight controller. I thought I was, but I wasn't. That's why I was confused. And then in the OSD, we should see those things, and they should show up on screen. And at that point, I don't know what could cause them not to show up on screen. But I'm vaguely starting to suspect that there's a bug, because I've heard this report more than once recently that the GPS elements specifically don't show up in the DJI goggles, but I haven't got enough information to track it down. I mean, I assume that Alan has put the GPS information on his OSD in Betaflight Configurator. Kmart FPV says, "Hey JB, I put a super chat in a few minutes ago, but I figured it out. Here's $5 more." Okay, thank you, Kmart. No worries. Kmart's question was, I'm trying to connect my Goggles 2 in the Fly app, and it keeps trying to pair to an Avata. What am I doing wrong? I think that the DJI Fly app thinks the O3 Air unit is an Avata. If my memory of using it, I didn't do a lot of using of the app, but that's what I remember seeing. Painful, but true. Painful, but true. RC Moore asks, I just bought the Spectrum DX16, and now the Boxer has come out. Should I return the Spectrum? I mean, that's a personal decision. I think that Edge TX and Open TX radios are where a lot of the culture of FPV that I spend the most time in is at. I don't want to overgeneralize FPV as only existing within the sort of context where I spend the most time. But that's what it seems like to me. I would prefer to have a radio that runs Edge TX or Open TX. And I think that any of the modern RC protocols, whether that be Express LRS, Crossfire, Tracer, or Ghost, are going to have way more range and penetration than anything Spectrum makes. So if you're interested in flying airplanes, line of sight, you know, those Spectrum makes very good receivers for that. If you're interested in doing FPV, where you're sometimes going to be flying through obstacles and penetration, and if you're going to want to take advantage of many features that protocols like Edge TX, Ghost, and Crossfire incorporate, because those companies are sort of part of the FPV market and are participating in the development of new stuff, then Spectrum just isn't going to give it to you. If I have misunderstood that I think I've misunderstood. He's bought a TX16. A TX16 from Radiomaster. Oh, that's a different question. Sorry, that's a different question. You said DX16, and I was like, that must be a Spectrum radio, because they start with DX. I didn't expect, I was like, it must be, I just assumed. Okay, that's different. Should you replace the TX16 for the Boxer? I'll tell you. So, I am pondering that question myself. If Blunty clips this for the Livestream Clips channel, then he should completely ignore my comments about Spectrum and just, I would probably just cut in right here. So, I've been pondering that question myself. Should I switch from the TX16S to the Boxer? Wow, it's dark. It's dark. I need more light. In fact, I just bought Come out of here. It just came today. I just bought a set of AG01 gimbals. Of course in purple. Shut up. Of course in purple. For it. And I've run into a little bit of a stumbling block with it, which is that it's not supported yet in EdgeTX Companion, so you can't easily transfer your models and settings. Man, I love that they lubed that throttle. I think they lubed this throttle too. It feels real good. You can't easily transfer your models and settings over from the TX16S to the Boxer. I'm going to say you set it up from scratch. Well, fine. It's not like there's a bunch of widgets and stuff on screen. The other thing that I do like the ergonomics a lot. I'm going to use it for a while and see. I'm going to use it for a while and see if the ergonomics offset the other disadvantages. The other thing I've noticed, and I don't know if everybody's is going to do this, but while I was playing with it, I don't know why I didn't notice this before, but watch what happens to the screen as I go through. Global functions, fine. Wait, where was it? Hang on. Oh, it's not going to do it now. No, of course, it's not going to do it now. Great. Never mind. It was only after I tried I tried uploading my models and settings to this radio by telling EdgeTX Companion that it was a TX12. And it made the screen do weird things. The screen is not doing weird things anymore. That's good. I'm happy to see that. So I'm going to have to set it up from scratch, which is a little annoying, but I guess not the end of the world. Can't you just copy the files over from the models folder? No, because this isn't, it's a different radio. The switches don't line up. It just says bad radio data and resets itself. Eric. Yeah, you can't copy models and settings from different radios by copying the models file. At least this one didn't work. Wes points out this is an RG-Pilot example, going back to the GPS question. The goggles show dashes. You see, it works. Here's dashes for the GPS coordinates. How do you see to fly, Wesley? How do you even see where you're going, man? Look at all this stuff on screen. My goodness. We need that high definition OSD. I don't know if you should return your TX16S, but RC Moore. But I'm giving the Boxer a fair chance. I think the ergonomics are just that appealing to me. It feels really good in the hand. It's simple. It feels robust. Whenever I'm carrying around my TX16S, I'm always like kind of half worried I'm going to break it. It doesn't feel as solid as this does. I don't know why. It has fewer switches. It has a smaller screen. And maybe that's going to drive me crazy. I'm going to go back to my big, beautiful TX16S. But I'm going to give it a try. Should you send it back? I can't answer that question for you. Chibi Kaiju says, if they put a color touchscreen in the Boxer, I'd leave the TX16S, no question. If they did that, though, it would change the size of the radio and change the ergonomics, and I'm not sure how I would feel about that. So, all right. If anybody can help identify whether there's a bug in Betaflight that causes the GPS elements to not appear in the OSD on the on the DJI goggles, that would be really nice to try to nail that down. Matthew Doherty says you could do a smaller color screen in the same size. Maybe like a smaller, higher resolution screen. Do you think the Boxer is objectively better than the Mambo? Asks 1IFPV. Well, I mean, objective is tough. For me, the thing that let the Mambo down the most was the tracer control link, which was never that appealing to me. So the inability, now granted, you could just use an external module. The other thing about the Mambo is that the gimbals have always been problematic. Like, for example, Stinger Swarm left the Mambo because he was tired of recalibrating his gimbals. At least that's the story he told me. That's just one example. TBS has always sort of struggled with the gimbals. I think it relates to the fact that they put the sensor for the gimbals on the board, and I think if I understand correctly, there's only one sort of sensor for the gimbal, and it has to sense up, down, left, right, and that's why the calibration for the Tango and the Mambo is different than any other radio, and it means that you can get drift. I've done classes with 10 to 15 students in the class, and the class, all the students have Tangos, right? So I'm not talking out my ass here. I have data, if you will. And at the beginning of the class, the first thing we have them do is recalibrate their gimbals, and then halfway through the class, you know, a bunch of them are having to recalibrate the gimbals on the Tango, right? It's just a constant issue. So that to me is a weak spot of the Mambo. And the biggest weak spot of the Mambo, for me personally, is that it doesn't run OpenTX or EdgeTX. It runs FreedomTX. And the reason that TBS did this is valid. TBS wants to be able to have that firmware pass through them. They want to be able to do things like have a special mixer mode where the mixer is bypassed and save you a millisecond of latency. And they mostly just want to sort of manage their ecosystem and their customers. And that's valid, but it also means that you're beholden to them for updates, and the updates just aren't coming. Right? They just are too busy doing other things. Like recently they had some problem with their landlord and they moved building. And that's fine. Shit happens. I'm not slamming TBS for that. That's just life, and they're doing the best they can. But if the Tango and the Mambo actually ran OpenTX and EdgeTX, then while TBS was busy doing other things, other people would be supporting their customers, and that would be better for their customers. So to me, those are the three things that sort of let the Mambo down. Is the Boxer better than the Mambo? I mean, to me it is. I think the gimbals are better. They're bigger. You can get CNC metal gimbals, although that's changing. Now that the Pyrodrone metal gimbals are out for the Tango and the Mambo, that's changed. Does the Tango and the Mambo use the same gimbals? I'm not sure about that. The internal Express LRS, to me, is preferable to Tracer, because Express LRS gives you the flexibility to have 50 hertz long range and 1000 hertz low latency and everything in between in the same radio. Whereas Tracer gives you 250 hertz. And now they also have a 50 hertz LoRa mode. Okay, after a lot of pressure, no doubt because of what Express LRS was doing. So, to me, that's just a better package. Build quality. TBS is known for good build quality. Radio Master's also known for good build quality. I'm not sure, who I would put on top there. I think the only person for whom the Mambo is super, super compelling is a person who has put tracer receivers in a lot of their quads. And I'm not sure there are that many of those people out there. I think there's probably more people flying Crossfire than Tracer, if I had to, just guess. I don't think Tracer, some of the steam was taken out of Tracer's sales by Ghost because they were released at the same time. Although Ghost, I don't think, has really taken off either. And then I think a lot of TBS customers didn't see a compelling reason to switch from Crossfire. And then for those customers who did care a lot about low latency, I think that a lot of them see Express LRS as more compelling because it's more flexible. And I think TBS really screwed up by saying Tracer is for racing, Crossfire is for long range. You can't have both of those things in one package. And then the Express LRS team came along and said, well, actually, we'll give it to you. And a lot of people went, oh. So. Thank you, Tony Horn, for a $2 super chat. Do you know if wide FPV video app works with the goggles too? Tony Horn, I don't know about that. I was about to say, so the question would be whether wide FPV works with the goggles too when you have them bound to a Vista. And I don't think so, because I'm pretty sure that the goggles 2 don't work with the smart controller at all. So I think the answer is no. I don't think the goggles 2 work with the smart controller, so I assume they also don't work with the wide FPV app, since they use the same interface. DJ Solstice wants to know, is the Darwin FPV Baby Ape still a good buy? I think so. What's the price nowadays? The price has gone up. But still, whoa, no, shut up. How is it still $80? Yes, the answer is yes, categorically. You want to get the Baby Ape Pro? That's going to put you at $106. And for all of the criticisms and nitpicks we could make of this quad, and there are some, I feel like you're definitely going to get $106 of fun out of it before those nitpicks come and bite you in the butt. It's pretty solid. So I would say yes. Yeah, get some spares, get some spare arms, maybe get a couple spare motors. I think that this is probably one of the best value per dollar quadcopters, like bind and flies, in FPV today. The arms could be stronger, but then it would be heavier, so meh. The motors get the job done and are cheap. You can get replacements, I think, for like $4. And it flies pretty darn good out of the box. The camera on the standard Baby Ape is garbage. 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 Get the Pro. And then, if you really want to, put like the Walksnail 1S VTX in it. Haha. And then you got a real cooker right there. Josh Kreider says the Baby Ape V2 frame is much better than the original. Okay. I didn't know that. I'll take your word for it. Is it on my toothpick page? Do you guys know about my website, fpvknowitall.com? We're for like 45 minutes into the stream. I haven't plugged my site yet. fpvknowitall.com is my website. Give you a little linky link here. It contains the ultimate FPV shopping list. I just say ultimate because people, it's just talking the blarney. Got suggested stuff in various categories, including toothpick. Please tell me we've got the Baby Ape on here. We got the Tiny Ape. Why do we have the Tiny Ape and not the Baby Ape? It's a 2.5. Did we decide the 3-inch? I gotta ask Ciati why we... Well, the tiny ape's also good. Why did we put the baby ape on here? Ciati did most of the work on this page, so I'll have to ask him. Well, as long as I'm... sorry, an hour and 45 minutes into the stream. Yes, thank you. If I could also remind you guys... Joshua Bardwell live stream... No, go back. Joshua Bardwell live stream clips is a YouTube channel where you can see clips from my live streams. If you don't get to watch all of every one of my live streams, head on over to Joshua Bardwell live stream clips and check out the clips there. Clips from just funny, witty, interesting questions, funny moments, outtakes, and also stuff from the news. If you're ever thinking, man, I remember Bardwell talked about this thing, but I can't remember which live stream it was, this is where you need to go. I'd love to have you as a subscriber over there. We're up to almost 7,000 subscribers. We've been hovering around 7,000 subscribers. Maybe we need to do a little bit of a promotion. Some kind of a giveaway or promotion to get us over that 7,000 subscriber mark. But, yeah, Joshua Bardwell live stream clips. Check that out. Wesley Vardy, thank you again for continuing to dig into the OSD question. This is Betaflight Goggles 2, Betaflight 431, and Vista. Yeah, Wesley, I guess, Wesley, I'm sure it works much of the time. I'm trying to figure out why some people aren't seeing it and how to fix that for them. One IFPV's got a great question. Nope, not that one. How are bind and fly sellers complying with remote ID broadcast right now? I haven't gotten a bind and fly since the deadline passed, which I think it just passed, or either it's just about to pass. I think it just passed last week. And the proposed idea that I've heard is that they're going to leave out the receiver. They're going to stop selling bind and flies. They're going to sell them without a receiver. At that point, the bind and fly becomes a self-built quad because you put the receiver in it. So you can buy a quadcopter that is 99% ready to go, except for the receiver. You put the receiver in it, and now it is a self-built quad, and it doesn't need to comply with remote ID until September 2023. DTFPV says they can sell existing stock without remote ID, so I'm sure they'll milk that for a while. Yeah, that's the other thing. Some of them just aren't going to comply and are going to just... If you're a Chinese company selling bind and fly drones to a United States customer, the store is going to get dinged, like what we've seen with the FCC. But eventually there will be pressure from American stores who will say, we can't sell these bind and flies, you have to give us plug and plays. And then the stores will just start selling plug and plays and you'll have to install the receivers. And that, I think, is how they're going to go around it. To me, that seems like the easiest way to get around it for everybody. It sucks. We'll all have to solder in our receivers. Maybe they'll even have plugs now. September 16th was the original deadline. They deflayed enforcement until December 16th. Thank you, 507RC. Should have known you would know that stuff. So that deadline is passed. What is all this ISD? Remote ID just says that your quad has to broadcast location information and other such information while you're flying so that people who see a drone flying randomly can find out, where it is, where it was, and so forth. That's the short version. Alejandro Gallo, thank you for a $2 super chat. Walksnail VRX on the DJI V2s with an analog module. No. HDMI to AV converter. Don't do it. Don't do it. the latency is going to be insane. So how is the receiver an issue, asks Sway on FPV. Because the December 16th deadline says that all sort of ready-to-fly drones sold complete, like think of the DJI Avata, have to have remote ID built in and working as of December 16th, 2022, in other words, 3 days ago. The self-built drones built by hobbyists, the hobbyist is the one who has to be responsible for building remote ID into the drone. Which means that if iFlight sells you a drone that is completely ready to fly, the FAA thinks that iFlight needs to put remote ID into the drone, and that's going to make it more expensive and just be a big pain in the ass. iFlight doesn't want to do that. So iFlight sells you a drone with no receiver in it, and now the FAA says that's not iFlight is no longer responsible for making that comply with remote ID. You, the customer, are. At which point, a lot of people will just be like, fine, I'm not doing it. One IFPV, you can try and figure out how to sort of slice that up. Leaving a wire out between the flight controller and the ESC. The question is, if the FCC or the FAA decides to make an example of you, will your lawyer be able to convince a judge that what you did was compliant with the regulation? And anytime somebody is like, oh, well, wink, 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 I'm going to leave the props off. You see, it's not a completely built quadcopter because it doesn't have props on it. And if it doesn't have props, it can't fly. Therefore, it's a self-build. Yes, you installed the props. Clearly, you built it. It's like, yeah, okay. Feel free to make that argument in front of a judge. Do you think it's going to fly? And that's the end of it. That's what it comes down to. Abraham says, with any luck, remote ID will push manufacturers to start making receivers with plugs again. I kind of agree with you. AF Kilo wants to know, is the 9-volt Beck on the Holybro Kakute H7V2 usable with the O3 air unit? Probably. Let's look. They've changed their documentation. Interesting. Who's doing their wiring diagrams? This looks like a iFlight wiring diagram. I used to do way back when, one of the first jobs I got in FPV that wasn't making videos was I made the user manuals. Do I still have them? I don't. I made the user manuals for the Holybro flight controllers. What's the rating for the regulator? That's not bad. 9-volt. Oh, nope. I wouldn't do it. 9-volt, 1.5 amps. So that is... I wouldn't do it. I believe I can do 9 times 1.5 in my head. Half of 9 is 4.5. 9 plus 4.5 is 13.5. Oh, I got it right. Give me a gold star. So the air unit, the O3 air unit pulls at maximum around 11 or 12 watts. This regulator is rated for 13.5 watts. I wouldn't do it. You're making a lot of assumptions there. I would run it off of VBAT. A 2 amp regulator, 2 amp 9 volt, I would do it. Poor boy, take it easy with the throwing around slavery references. Take it easy. I understand that, like, that government is imposing things on you, and it feels bad, and you don't like it. You don't like regulations and laws that restrict your hobby, and they seem unjust, and we want to fight against them. But let's not sort of diminish like actual chattel slavery by suggesting that American citizens who can't fly their drones the way they want are like slaves. It's going to sort of get up on that soapbox there for a second, then get back down. You know, like, we're not that far from actually having slaves here in this country. Keep it, yeah. It's literally, remote ID is literally like the Holocaust. You see, that's not good. Don't say that. Well, you just said it. Now, somebody's going to clip that. You're saying, my social media manager is saying that I shouldn't have done that. That somebody's going to clip that and play it out of context, and then there's going to be blowback. Didn't I fire you on Sunday? Calm down, Kanye, says Wesley Vardy. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. Thank you, Parts for Ben Toys, for $5 Canadian. Cheers, JB. Been away for a long while, mostly because I fly FPV wings. Happy you're still doing the Q&A. Happy holidays to all. Is Ciati up next? I think he is. Ciati is going to Cabo for a work trip. He might be gone. I haven't seen him in the chat. Jack R. Any thoughts about the Nazgul XL5 as a 5-inch freestyle frame? The Nazgul XL5. The XL5? Are you sure? Yeah, the Nazgul XL5. That's just the regular Nazgul 5 frame, right? Ciati is not streaming tonight. He's packing. Fair enough. I mean, that's a fine frame. That's a solid frame. I'm surprised it's $63. It's a solid... My goodness, what's going on with me? I got the hiccups now. It's a solid frame, though. I've broken arms on this frame. I beat the hell out of them, though. They hold together pretty well. I don't know if I feel like it's worth $63. I don't know what I would pay. It's okay, though. Leo Ponce says, Quad went in the water, the Vista survived, but I lost MSP. I measured continuity and resistance. It looks okay. Is there anything else other than blowing up the diodes that causes this? I mean, Leo, did you test continuity between TX and ground and RX and ground? If there is continuity there, then you blew the diodes. You don't have to guess. You're going to need to desolder it from the flight controller, or unplug it. And make sure that you flip the probes around both directions, because it's a diode, so it may pass current one way but not the other. Paul Stevenson, thank you for a $5 super chat. What's your current favorite whoop to fly indoors? I'm currently on DJI goggles. I need something while it's cold. I would... it's tough. It might be the Mobilite 6. The HD0 Mobilite? Is that the one? That's the Mobilite 7 HD0. Yeah, it's this one. Thank you. That's the Mobeetle 6. So for analog, the Mobeetle 6 is damn good. And then there's also the... Which is the H? It's a 65 millimeter. Yeah, Mobula 6 HD0. If you want to fly digital, the Mobula 6 HD0 is damn good. Of course, you have the DJI goggles, so that's not an option for you. It's damn good. If you're on DJI goggles, you could use analog, and then I would suggest the Mobeetle. I mean, that's what I like to fly. We are, oh my God, it's 10 p.m. It's 10 p.m. Wow, we've run through the whole stream. Al Mac FPV, have you heard any more about the Banggood AliExpress bankruptcy? No, all we heard is Pavel Spikowski leaving a rumor and saying, hey, this is a rumor. So no information about that. I do need to go make sure I make a withdrawal from my Banggood affiliate account in case there's something to the rumor. I don't want to leave a bunch of money sitting in their account waiting for them to not pay me because they went bankrupt. Not saying that they're going bankrupt, just saying that Pavel said there was a rumor that they were going bankrupt. And I have a tendency to forget to withdraw money from my affiliate accounts and just leave it sitting there until there's way too much of it sitting there. So I have to take care of that. All right. We are going to finish up. You want to do, hang on a second. I got to turn this heater off. It's fucking cooking my feet. Oh, here we go. That's what that noise has been the whole stream. It's cold. I'm running the wood stove upstairs, but that makes the heating not run. So my basement gets super cold. So I have to run a heater down here. Now you know. 713 ASRC, thanks for a $2 super chat. Trying to choose DJI versus 5-inch with Express LRS with the Boxer. I don't know how to parse this question. DJI controller versus Express LRS with the Boxer? Is that the question? DJI controller is way easier to set up. It has adequate range if you're using DJI video. And you don't have to have a separate receiver, which keeps your build simple. The DJI controller is not programmable like the Boxer would be. That may be a plus if you're just like, F that stuff, I don't care. But if you like to tinker and you like to fiddle about and program, then the programmability of the Boxer will be appealing. And the other thing is, if you're talking about the O3 Air unit with the V2 controller, then as soon as you lose video, the controller also fail-safes. So you can't just like power up and try and climb out when you lose video, which is a deal breaker for some people. That's my sort of breakdown of Boxer versus the DJI controller. People are asking to see my shirt. There you go. You're welcome. Alrighty, folks, we're going to wrap up. I'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. for the news. Don't forget that this Sunday is Christmas. Right? This coming Sunday is Christmas, so no live stream on Christmas Day. Was your dedication to your viewers? I don't want you to be watching. You don't need to be watching my live stream. You need to be with your family. Celebrating whatever you celebrate. Celebrating the only valid winter holiday, and I think you know which one I'm thinking of. Well, anyway, see you guys later. I'll be back tomorrow for the news and then Monday for the normal stream. Oh. I can't resist a challenge. Black Jungle, what is this? He's trying to figure out. I'm sorry, that's not a challenge. He's trying to figure out what receiver this is. RX Nano feels like Crossfire to me. If it's Crossfire, show me the antenna, Black Jungle. Take a picture of the antenna, Black Jungle. Quick, quick, quick. RX Nano is probably Crossfire. I mean, I guess it doesn't have... I don't think Crossfire says RX Nano on the back. That's a sticker, though. It's got the EU certificate. It's an Immortal T. That's a Crossfire receiver, then. You have a Crossfire receiver. Bada bing. Yeah, the chat is also confirming that's a Crossfire. I couldn't remember if it has a sticker or something. Yeah. All right. Now we know. I was going to say the CE symbol here also suggests that it's TBS, because Express LRS manufacturers don't give a gosh darn about the CE symbol. So only TBS goes through the trouble. All right, folks. We are done for the night. Have a good night, everybody. Happy flying.